Hello 2K15, I'm back. So like usual, I'm doing this at the middle of the night with my PJs on, and I'm ready to go. So if some of you know me, I love listening to national anthems. They have a sense of national pride in them, a large chorus to sing them, and wonderful music in it. Some of them stand out from the others, which is why I like them, so some, as you know, do not. Nevertheless, there are always interesting facts behind those national anthems of the world, so today, I'll just explore all of the national anthems in Europe. Just before we start, I want to note that in this episode, I will exclude Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan from Europe, though this may go to an Asian episode in the future. I will also include Kosovo because, you know, they have a nice sounding anthem and the fact that I had to reach exactly 50 facts. Other than that, all of the countries here will be represented in random order. Mostly. Let's start. The Marseillaise was the first example of a European march anthem, which began influencing many anthems in the world, even beyond Europe itself. Yes, this does include the two countries I'm living in right now. Luxembourg temporarily used the melody of To an Anacreon in Heaven for their anthem, which is the current melody of the Star-Spangled Banner. They then replaced it with the current anthem, Anthems. Because state symbols are not protected by copyright in Russia, Goszdательные гимны Российской Федерации can technically be modified freely. Because of this, you can actually find a lot of techno remixes, like this one. There are other remixes for other countries, but I particularly like this one. In 1945, the Polish pianist Artur Rubinstein had to play the opening of the inauguration of the UN. Instead, he stated his disappointment that Poland had no delegates despite their contributions in the Second World War. He then proceeded to play Mazur Dąbrowskiego on the piano to the public, who gave him a standing ovation. The ending of the Belgian anthem, Framosin, includes the line, "The King and Law and Liberty." This is the parallel to the French Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, which also shows similarities to the French anthem. The original version of the Macedonian anthem included two revolutionaries in its lyrics, Nikola Karev and Dimitar Vlahov. But for some reason, they were omitted and replaced with Dame Gruev. Oj Svietla Majska Zoro was originally a Montenegrin folk song. A record of it in 1887 showed that it was included in a school program of national songs for third graders. Muisama Muanyaram shares the same melody as the Finnish anthem. In fact, during Soviet occupation when the anthem was banned, some Estonians could still hear it through a Finnish broadcaster which was received in northern Estonia when the song was played off at sign-off. Dievs Sveti Latviu is the national anthem of Latvia, meaning God bless Latvia. Dievs Sveti Latviu is also inscribed on the Latvian 2 euro coin. Lijepa naša domovina in Croatian means our beautiful homeland. It is often referred to as Lijepa naša, which is a phrase used as a metonym to refer to Croatia itself. Because Switzerland has 4 official languages, it is translated into 4 languages: French, German, Italian, and Romansh. Despite being the papal anthem and the national anthem of the Holy See and Vatican State, Ino e Matia Pontificale is apparently not to be understood as a national anthem, but words and music that speak to the heart of many throughout the world who see in Rome the See of Peter. Okay, there were many instances where people tried to find alternative lyrics to Du gamla du fria. This was because the lyrics were written as a reference to Scandinavia as a whole, and some people found that it wasn't so, Swedish enough. In the original version of Jag älskar ditt lamma, there was a tribute to King Charles IV of Norway, who was also King Charles V of Sweden, because at the time there was an idea of a united Scandinavia. One line mentioned a Brethren Pact, where Norway, Sweden, and Denmark will support each other militarily. Unfortunately, none of them supported Denmark when the Germans invaded in 1864, so that went well. Only the third stanza of Deutschlandlied is sung, as the first and second stanza has been banned after the Second World War, as it has some controversial lyrics. On March 1945, a football match was played between a Maltese and a Yugoslavian football team. Malta was still a British colony, but after the British anthem, the whole stadium stood up to sing Linu Malti. The embarrassed British governor had to stand up for the whole thing. In 2005, George W. Bush, ironically enough, visited Georgia to address the people. When a recording of Tempest Pleva failed to play, President Mikhail Saakashvili had to motion to the choir to sing, in which thousands of people in the crowd joined in. Denmark is one of 2 countries in the world that has 2 national anthems of equal status. One is the national anthem Der Ungeland, the other is the royal anthem, Kong Christian. Shena Vera Ukraina means Ukraine has not yet died. However, the lyrics are changed in 2003 to Ukraine's glory has not yet died, as the concept of Ukraine as a country is no longer threatened in the present day. El Gran Canaman is sung in first-person narrative. The narrator is Andorra itself, describing itself as a princess and remaining daughter of the Carolingian Empire. Mila Rodina was written by Svetan Radoslavov, who was a volunteer fighting in the Serbo-Bulgarian War, which he wrote en route to the battlefield. After the war, he became a prominent psychologist who took a doctor's degree from the father of psychology, Willem Wundt. Mehmet Akif Ersoy, the lyricist of Istiklal Marşı, initially refused to participate in the competition for the original composition of the National March. This was because it involved a monetary prize. Later, Parliament convinced him to submit a poem disregarding the prize. Mir Hayrenik was adapted from a poem called The Song of an Italian Girl by Armenian writer Mikhail Nalbandian. Despite the name, the original poem is far from a romantic poem. It was originally about the wars of Italian independence from the Austrian Empire. Whew. Speaking of Austria, one story said that after Paula von Preradovic learned that her lyrics for Landebell, Landonstormer were chosen, her sons made a parody version. The first two lines of the parody version translated to Land of the Peas, Land of the Beans, Land of the Four Zones of Occupation. There was a bit of controversy in Amran Ravine as the first line of the song was Shinne Fianna Fáil. This had a strange similarity with a major Irish political party called Fianna Fáil. This was likely a coincidence as the translation has predated the party's founding. Nevertheless, some Irish used the alternative Shinne Lecker Fáil instead. I'm really sorry if I said something wrong. Irish is very, very hard to pronounce. In 2010, the Scottish Football Association had to make a public apology on behalf of their fans in a match at Hampden Park. This was because the Scottish fans began booing the Liechtenstein anthem, Oben am Jungenrhein, which has the same tune as the United Kingdom's God Save the Queen. Speaking of the United Kingdom, God Save the King or God Save the Queen was the first song used as the national anthem. It is not, however, the oldest anthem in the world. That honor goes to the Netherlands. The composer of Hymni Flamurit was Ciprian Porumbescu, who also composed the previous national anthem of Romania. The last line of the chorus in A Portuguesa literally means Against the Cannons, March, March. This was a modification of the old lyrics Against the Britons, March, March. This was a reference to the British ultimatum that lost Portugal most of its African colonies. Hymnus differs from most anthems that the lyrics expresses a direct plea to God rather than national pride. Because of this, the song was played but not sung when communist rule of Hungary was at its harshest. Tatiška Giesmė was written by Vinkas Kudirka, who wrote it in the newspaper Varpas, an underground Lithuanian newspaper which he found and edited for a while during Russian imperial rule. He died of tuberculosis just about a year after it was published. San Marino's anthem, Himno Nazionale della Repubblica, has no official lyrics. In fact, it is one of 4 countries with no official lyrics, including Spain, Kosovo, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Speaking of Kosovo, the national anthem of Kosovo was decided through an open contest with rules that include composition must be unique and original and that it must last between 30 and 60 seconds. The winning anthem was Europe. Malmö was originally written by a German immigrant, Fredrik Pacius, and its lyrics were originally in Swedish, called Vårtland. Some people even say that Pacius wrote the song in just 15 minutes, having no idea that it would become popular in Finland. When Czechoslovakia was still a country, its national anthem had the first verse being the Czech Kre domov můj, and the second verse being the Slovak Na Tatrao Sabliska. When the country split into Czech Republic and Slovakia, their anthems split as well, adopting their respective verses of the once united anthem. When it was an anthem for the Kingdom of Serbia, Bože Pravde had lyrics tailor-made for the Serbian king. This included Milan I, Peter I, and Alexander I. After Serbia became a republic, there were no more mentions of a king. The poet of Stavrica, France Plešeren, was somewhat an enormously important person to the Slovenian people. This included his image on the 1,000 tolar banknote, his image on the Slovene 2 euro coin, the highest Slovene prize for an artistic achievement named after him, and even a national holiday was dedicated to him on the anniversary of his death. The Canto degli Italiani has a very strong and intimidating anthem. It repeatedly affirms how the Italian people are ready to die and having the goddess of victory submit as a slave to Rome. Moldova used the Romanian national anthem for a while before Limba Noastră was finally adopted, which for some reason means our language. Lofsinger has been criticized for the fact that it is so hard to sing. It requires a vocal range of a minor 14th, so unless you have a voice of Celine Dion, don't bother. Hymn to Liberty is the longest national anthem in the world, with a staggering 158 stanzas. It was about the struggle of the Greeks during the occupation of the Ottoman Empire and the strive for freedom. In case you're wondering, this Greek anthem is also the national anthem of Greece. Additionally, Hymn to Liberty is played at every closing ceremony of the Olympics as a tribute to the birthplace of the Olympic Games. The original 15 stanzas of Wilhelmus are acrostic by taking the first letter of each stanza. The result of the contemporary Dutch version is Willem van Nassau, which translates to William of Nassau. The Statute Romane is the most enduring patriotic song in Romania, popular during the 1848 revolutions, broadcasted after Romania joined the Allies in World War II, and finally adopted after the fall of Ceausescu. I know this is unrelated, but this is a very badass anthem. All state-owned television and radio stations in Belarus are required to play Mi Belarusi at 6 a.m. and upon signing off. Marcha Real officially has no lyrics, partially because the autonomous communities in Spain already have their own national anthems. However, at one point in 2007, the president of the Spanish Olympic Committee proposed an open competition for athletic events, which garnered 7,000 entries. He was inspired to do it when he witnessed a rendition of What Else? You'll Never Walk Alone at Anfield. Louis Notari, the lyricist of Hymne Monegasque, once had fascist sympathies in the 1930s. During that time, he actually wrote a few poems celebrating the Italian fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. Because the national anthem of Bosnia and Herzegovina technically has no lyrics or even a name, it is often referred to by its working title, Intermezzo. Finally, Ode to Joy is the current national anthem of the EU. I am dead serious. The national anthem of the EU is Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. The anthem has no lyrics because the European Union has a bunch of languages it could pick from. However, some people sing the original German poem written by Friedrich Schiller, a poem he regarded as a failure. So that's 50 facts about European national anthems. Thank you for watching this video. It took me a long time just to research this stuff, as some of them don't even have much stuff about it. Hopefully I can do another episode about it for other countries. Until then, see you next time. Good night.